Hey, this is, what do we say, Michael? Episode 11 of, again, we do not have a name for whatever the heck it is we're doing. I'm here with David Horne. I would call a friend. He was the coach of one of my sons, or actually one of my sons. I only have one son, so he was the coach of my son in soccer. He's an athlete, an entrepreneur. Has a great story, great presence about you. I appreciate you coming on. Again, like we're starting to understand what we're doing, and I love relationships. I love friendship and fellowship, and I think we can learn a lot from each other just in conversations, and we can share a lot with the world. But exploring what's going on in each other's lives and see what rabbit hole we chase down.
Sounds great, Jimmy. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. So, first of all, tell everybody who you are.
My name is David Horne, Louisvillian, born and raised, live here with my family in a family business, and coaching my son's soccer teams, and just trying to have an impact on the community in a positive way.
I think you do that. I think you definitely do that. So, your family, how many kids, wife?
My wife, Lauren, she's a stylist also from Louisville. And then I got three kids. Daniel, he's 9. Lewis is 7. And Stella Jane is 3.
All right. So the proverbial Louisville question, where did you go to school?
Holy Spirit, St. X, and Center College is my route.
College.
Yeah.
Okay. Why did I think you were connected to Bellarmine? I don't know where that came from.
Division 2-3 soccer.
Is any of your colleagues, was Finn from Bellarmine?
Finn's a Spalding guy.
Spalding. Okay, so we got nobody, but we covered every college. All right. Did you coach? You didn't play at Louisville. You played at Center. And then Did you just do some coaching at Louisville?
Yes, I did. After playing, I spent 10 years in soccer. After I graduated, I played in the USL. Bounced around the minor leagues, and then ended up starting the Louisville Lightning, the pro indoor team, if people remember that.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did that for 2.5 years, and then went to University of Louisville worked under Ken Lola on his staff for 8 seasons.
How's Ken doing?
Ken's the man. He's one of the best leaders, the best leader, I would say, that I've ever been around. He's a mentor of mine, a great friend, and he is just a character-based leader. He's the same guy as a coach, as a dad, as a father, as a husband, and he's just one of the most impactful people I've ever been around.
He's an amazing individual. I wish the depth of our relationship had an opportunity, and it probably will. It's something, it's been very surface level at this point, but to translate, and I think I see this a lot in business, to translate athletics into the business world, because he's basically a leadership coach for executives now, right?
Yeah, that's right. He's an executive coach and he's a pastor, and all the principles of leadership obviously translate. And so, he knows how to build a championship culture. And so that's what he's able to do, is coach leaders up on building that culture and leading well.
Now, do you know him like personally or professionally or all the above? Or have you engaged him as like a leadership coach at all, or is that just the benefit of being a friend of him?
Just as a mentor, and being around him for 8 seasons, I'm obviously very close to him. I ran his website and booked his speaking engagements, and, ran his camps, and was just really close. I am close, but really intimately close for many years with he and his wife, Tina, and their kids. I was really able to absorb a lot of lessons from him.
Gotcha. All right, see if we can walk through, because I feel like from the time you graduated college to where you're at right now, there's a lot going on. It sounds like you're like an executive assistant for Ken Lola. You did started some semi-professional soccer. You're now running I would say multi-million-dollar manufacturing company that's a spinoff of another company. Tell us all about it, and give it. Don't be a shameless plug for what you're doing right now, because we're definitely going to tag your swag.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I grew up as a son of, mom and dad are entrepreneurs running their own business. It was called Stitch Designers for 39 years until this year we renamed it Tag Swag. But having grown up around entrepreneurs, I always was one as well. I never was involved in the family business. I ended up doing my own thing, cutting grass, started a lawn company from when I was 11 to when I went to college. And I always just made money, just like trying to figure it out. And after spending time in soccer for 10 years, what I've done is just pursued my passion. I pursued what I wanted to pursue, what I loved to do.
Making clothes?
Well, what it comes into now is passionate about leadership and family business and about people. And so once I had finished the soccer career, I'd always had a plan to join the family business, but my dad at the time, he asked me to join, and I had my tenure with U of L. And so, yeah, I mean, pursuing the passion there, it is about my family and about helping people and growing something. And so, yeah, so now I've been with the family business for about 7 years.
Okay.
And we've been through a lot of change, and we're excited about where we're going next. Yeah.
So in 7 years, you went from Stitch Design to added Tag Your Swag. Correct. Was it like a division of Stitch Design?
That's right.
And the entire organization now has changed names to Tag Swag.
That's right.
Okay. So why that change? What was the impetus for that?
We had become what's called a contract decorator in our industry. So we had been purely doing manufacturing of embroidery and screen printing on behalf of resellers,
right,
and uniform companies and brands. And when COVID hit especially, but even before that, there was just this gap for us of selling to the end user. Mm-hmm. We're selling on behalf of the resellers. There's just a middleman. And so the idea was that, could we start a sales engine to sell direct? And with that, the challenge was scaling that. But what changed it was e-commerce opportunities. Mm-hmm. So especially when COVID hit, it was everyone buying online. And so we decided, why not create web stores for businesses to buy online? The big challenge in our industry is you don't want to do these little orders of one piece and ship it to somebody's house. You can't make any money.
Right.
But we figured out a way to do that. And because we're the manufacturer, we just created a new model. And so we're doing the hard thing. The hard thing is doing one piece and shipping it.
Right.
So we started making web stores for friends and families businesses, and started doing that in 2020. And you fast forward to today, we have 400 web stores in 40 states, and we're adding 2.5 every week. Yeah. And so we figured out a good model to scale of creating this B2B model.
Okay.
Going direct to manufacturer.
All right. That's, which just a big shout out. I have it on today. So, and that is the one thing that drew me to your business model was if I wanted to order one shirt, it's impossible to do it at scale. I could pay $75 for one shirt. And even though your all's quality is very good, it's still not exponentially higher than what I would pay if I bought that thing at retail. So I think was awesome. I don't think a lot of our team appreciate that. So they can, they wake up one morning like, I need a hat. Well, I might as well get a branded hat and go order it, and it's here in 7 days. So everything's local, right? And y'all have got some big expansion coming up. That's
right. Everything's local. We've been in 2 35,000 square foot buildings for about 10 years now. But we're really excited about moving into an 80,000 square foot facility. Mm-hmm. It's under construction, has been, and we're going to hopefully this year be moving into that, combining our 2 buildings into one. We have about 100 team members, 60 and 40 in each building. So we're going to combine that all into one, and it's going to be the coming out party for Tag Swag.
When do you think that's going to happen?
It'll be hopefully the end of this year. But we get into our busy season. So we're like, we're going to be running, maybe even 2 shifts at that point. We need to move 115 machines, and it's a heavy lift. So the timing of it, as long as my main concern is about the team and keeping our team energized around this, vision for moving in. But, it'll work out in due time, and then we'll look back and be like, who cared how long it took? Yeah.
Are they excited about it?
Oh, people are pumped up.
Because in my mind, I've got the Twix factory, right? Left Twix and right Twix. Is there some division between the people that work in the separate buildings, or is there a good commonality there?
Yeah, there naturally there's tribalism, I think, between 2 different locations, but when we get together, like today, we're having the Swag Olympics today. We're gonna have 150 people, all the families, and we're gonna get together. And we have a really neat culture. We have a lot of Cuban team members, Vietnamese and Myanmar people as well. And when we mesh together and we start drinking Stellas, it gets really fun.
I'm a big fan. I've got a couple team members that are they're from Cuba originally, and their personalities are just so effervescent. Like they're nonstop. They're just go. It's amazing. I could imagine that's a lot of fun.
We're excited to get everybody together. Yeah. I know it's there's obviously maybe some apprehension. How's it all going to mesh? I just know in my heart that it's going to be amazing. It's going to unite us.
Yeah. Have y'all done it before?
Done what? Sorry.
Have you done the Tag Swag Olympics?
Oh, the events? Yeah. We do combined building events, okay. Christmas parties, things like that. But, even though it's only 10 minutes down the road, it's, might as well be 45. Right. It's so hard to get the people together. And so that's one of the main things that the building does, is unites us.
Are they specialized? Like, is one like they're not doing the same thing. So there's no direct competition there.
Correct. Although we're putting logos on apparel and products, one is all embroidery and laser applique, which is tackle twill. And then the other facility is screen printing, direct to film heat transfers. We have laser etchers, UV printers. So although we're putting logos on apparel and products, it's two separate machinery. And then, so there's no cross training ability, even what we're doing right now.
Yeah. So how's the setup? Here's a rabbit hole. I'm like, how do you take two very unique manufacturing entities that are in two separate buildings and stick them in the same building? And with, is there cross pollination there, and what does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be so much synergy from it. I mean, we get a lot of mixed orders where it calls for some embroidery and some screen printing. So we actually drive a truck, every single day, going back and forth, moving material back and forth. We ship out of one facility mainly. Okay. So the synergy there, a lot of orders will be mixed and they'll get married up in shipping at the end. So we'll just be placing them. We'll put all the screen printing together, all the embroidery together, and so on. And then it'll just make everything so much more efficient.
Right. So you said your passion is not necessarily manufacturing, but it's about leadership and culture, and those, where does that come from? And if I was to push on you and say, well, you got to love what you do, I love leadership too, but if I don't love leading as much as you do, like kid soccer players. Like, you can apply leadership anywhere, but almost like the end product, you have to love also. Right? I love coaching baseball. I do not love coaching girls softball. So, but I could do it, but that doesn't fill me up. So, how do you marry those two things?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, being passionate about the thing, whether that be the sport that you're coaching or the business that you're in, certainly important, but obviously leadership is universal. And I made this comment. We just hired a director of operations who's an incredible man, Abraham from Mexico, and has all this manufacturing experience, but he's a leader. And it's more, we wanted a leader first,
right,
someone with experience second. I was saying we could take Ken Lola, soccer coach, who's a leader, and put him in this role, teach him the manufacturing. I'd rather go that way than get somebody who's highly specialized. Because you can't, you can't
slow down the thoroughbred. You can't speed up a donkey.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't ask an apple tree to grow pears, A leader is something that takes time to learn that craft. And I mean, my definition of leadership is it's character in action. That's my most favorite one, but it's just influence. Leadership is influence, nothing more than nothing less. It's John Maxwell. And to influence well, it requires character. And so people have high character. And I just love the influence towards a common set of goals. It's a skill. Leadership is a skill of influencing people. And so, having that common set of goals and a vision and moving towards it with a team, the satisfaction in that achievement is really, really powerful.
Yeah. You bring up something that both you and I are passionate about. You've implemented it a lot further than I have, but Gino Wickman's entrepreneurial operating system, EOS, traction. How has that changed? When did y'all implement that, and how has that changed the clarity around your leadership DNA?
It's been an absolute game changer. And you talk to other companies that are on EOS, and they'll say the same thing. We started doing it in part several years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but we were doing it kind of a watered down, almost self-implementation version. It wasn't until last year, at the beginning of the year, was introduced to Jack Martin, an implementer, through Michael Bush. And we ended up actually becoming a true implemented company. We hired it, went all in on it. And so we've been doing that now for about 18, 20 months.
That's right.
And having done it from, doing it from the ground up, and going through the formal process of EOS has been an absolute game changer. And now we're actually running on EOS, pushing it down through other departments, and just the clarity that creates for the company and for the team. It's been a game changer.
So you're sitting across somebody that fully believes in the framework of EOS, who's self-implementing at the moment, trying to marry it between the frameworks that I have with my franchise and what Gino Wickman has put together. What is the biggest difference between self-implementation and actually having a bona fide integrator? Because if money was no object, I'd do it tomorrow. I've got a CFO I have to answer to. Her name's Jennifer. If I wanted to leverage your story and tell her, hey, listen, when we go from self-implementation to actual integration, where's the hiccups? where's the jumping off point? Like how do you talk somebody through that?
It's a great question, and I would advise talking to somebody who actually has done this, which is Sailing Wealth Advisors. Eric Sailing over there in Tendai. They were self-implementing and then hired John Anderson to become their implementer.
Okay,
and so that you could get a real world case study with those guys, and I could tell you. But because I've not done that, we weren't actually self-implementing. We were just not. We had a coach, but he was not running EOS pure. So. But to clarify, I think what it would be is that level of accountability to stay on EOS Pure, to actually do that full day, 2-day offsite annually, to go offsite every quarter, that accountability to do the town halls. It's so easy to, not do it. And so it's just like having a coach in anything,
right?
Having a personal trainer to get your workouts in. It just makes that difference. And then I think it's also just education on what it is. I mean, there's layers to EOS. There's all the tools, and it takes time to learn it. And so I think it's helpful for that reason too.
I'm gonna do a shameless plug for Keller Williams. So our foundational book is called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, written by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan in the early 90s. But I've read the book 20 times. It's like a textbook for real estate. But I went to the acknowledgments the other day. It was probably about 6 or 8 months ago. And I open it up and I read. It's Brian Buffini, Tom Ferry, Robert Kiyosaki, John Maxwell, not Gino Wickman. Maybe it was Gino Wickman. What's Gino Wickman's dad's name? It might be, is he junior?
He might be. I know.
Anyways, so like the same things that Gary Keller and the largest real estate brand in the world have in common with a lot of the business thought leaders right now is they were all like early 90s, like they were kind of cooking this thing up together. So now 30 years later, we're like, man, business kind of is looking the same, and they all kind of grew in it together. It's very interesting.
Yeah, the principles don't change. And right. Paul Lencioni is a big one in that mix. That's who's influenced a lot of Gino's. 5 dysfunctions of a team. Yep, that's a big one. And the advantage is the one that we're going through right now. And that one, he says, he does a lot of parables, and Lencioni's the advantage is like the culmination, he says, kind of all of it. But you will see so many parallels with Traction and with EOS because he has had such an influence on Gino Wickman. And so, but the godfather of it all, in my opinion, is Jim Rohn. I mean, John Maxwell too, but right. Jim Rohn is the one too. But yeah, all the principles are the same. It's kind of just being repackaged, but we all need to be reminded more than we need to be instructed. So that reminder in the different ways is just the key, just constantly telling yourself.
It's either it's Uncle Henry or Aunt Susie. Like your dad can say the same thing and you hear it differently from somebody else and you get the same result. But all right. So one of the purposes or one of the passions that I have is to find out from people like what brings them peace, what brings them purpose in life, and then what brings them profit, or what metric do they measure success for in their life. So you get to pick peace, profit, or purpose. We're going to hit all three, but which one do you want to start with?
We could start with purpose.
All right. Why were you put on this earth? When you wake up every day, what does a purpose-driven life look like?
That's a great question. First and foremost, as a child of God, it's to honor and glorify God and to live out His purpose. That should be, that should be the moral compass for how I go throughout my day with an eternal outlook on life. And then it's all about, from there, it's all about relationship with people. It's about myself as a husband and as a father, as a son, as a brother, as a leader, friend, mentor, coach, all of those relationships that I have been given the blessing of the responsibility to have, being a good steward of those and that purpose. And then, one of the quotes I like around it is, relationships purpose is to help other people become the best versions of themselves. And so leading people towards their best versions and helping them to achieve their goals and dreams, that's really where there's great impact and legacy. So I would suggest that that's what gets me going.
Is it Zig Ziglar that said, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get more than what you want, something to that? Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Very, very, very firm believer in that. Leadership is the one thing that you said you continue to hit on. And I think I always knew it, but I didn't really know it as much as I focus on it now is leading yourself. Like, how do you show up and be the best version of yourself? Especially when you look back and go, man, I've sucked for 40 years. Like, I've made so many mistakes. I've made wrong turns here and wrong turns there. And maybe that was a product of not leading myself. So how do you get in? Because you got to lead yourself first, right? So what does that look like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. That is the key. People, and I find this true for myself too. You're not going to really follow anybody who you don't see something that you want in them. And so you have to be that person that has earned the right for other people to lead.
Right.
And so leading yourself and having the discipline. And then for me, it's a lot of just discipline. It's about having character is what it all comes down to in the end.
Yep.
And so leading myself is revolved around the daily habits. I mean, we're just bundles of habits.
Right.
And so to lead myself, I need to start with going to bed early so I can get up early.
Yeah.
So I can do yoga, and then I can do my prayer and meditation and get my game face on for the day. That's leading myself. And then, if I can do my journaling and then plan out my day and then wake up the family and get rolling.
Yeah.
If I don't start that day that way and lead myself that way, then I'm not ready to lead others.
Right.
So I think it boils down to having the discipline in my habits.
Yeah. So I equate that to baseball. Like, this much at contact creates this much difference, 100 feet down the road.
Right.
And I've found that same thing. Have you read Atomic Habits?
Yes, I have.
A little shout out to Michael Bush again. He put that on my table. But yeah, Atomic Habits, like 1% better. If you can, and that's probably the biggest growth thing I had wasn't necessarily the morning routine. It's the nighttime routine. Because if I don't get everything right at night, then just like this morning, I was 10 minutes late getting up, and everything has manifested itself. I'm back on track now. But all right, so your purpose, leadership, living a God-centered life. I love that. Peace or profit?
We can go peace now.
The worst day in the world. It's most stressful. Everything was built on top of your head. And if you got to choose the exact opposite of that feeling, where would you go? What would you do?
I think that I recently had an opportunity to, the feeling of peace for me comes in two ways I can describe it. One, very simply, is at the end of my yoga when I'm in corpse pose and I've got the fight out of my body and I've done the breathing and I'm able to lay there and I'm able to just kind of melt into this moment where it sort of transcends who I am as a person. It's like a soul level, dark, quiet moment. Like, that is peace for me.
How long does that last? And you said some words that I'm not familiar with. What pose and when your body's done fighting?
Corpse pose. You're just laying on your back. You basically
like a corpse. Okay.
Yeah, you're laying there. You've done all of the yoga poses. You've sweat. You've twisted. You've turned. You've stretched, and then now you're laying there, and like the energy is just flowing through your body, and you're just still, but you're still, and you're like awake.
Right.
That like sense of peace, I think you can get through physical activity, physical, mental, emotional movement in yoga. I'm a huge yogi. I love yoga. Do it almost every day. I try to do it every day. That's peace for me. The other piece I can describe is, I have my testimonial there is that when I go get communion, and have the body and blood of Christ, whether it's in a Catholic mass or just in a Christian church, I typically go back to my seat and I can sit there and close my eyes and there'll be all this commotion around me and I can get that same deep presence of peace.
Right.
So those are like, I think, activated moments of peace. And then the other, I would say, the opposite of the day you described would be when I went on vacation recently and I just read Gino Wickman's book called Shine, which is all about your inside world versus your outside world. And in his book, he has these 10 disciplines and one of them is take time off. And he's adamant about like clarifying when you're going to work and when you're not going to work. And he's really big on unplugging on vacations all the way, which and I know every entrepreneur leader is like, no, I can't go all the way off. I'm just going to check my email in the morning and then I'll get it off. But I actually went all the way off. And 3 or 4 days in, I just went deeper and deeper into this. You know what? I'm just present. I'm not attached to my work. And there was a lot of peace in that.
Yep. Our last couple, 2 to 3 vacations, we haven't fully unplugged, but we've gotten really close, and it is a game changer. Everybody talks about you have to have a vacation from your vacation.
Yeah.
No, like if you do vacation, right?
Yeah.
Like you're ready to come back and just jump into it. I need somebody to create a way to forward text messages. That's the one thing I can't beat. Like I can forward my phone calls. I can forward my wife's phone calls. I can forward emails, but there's no way to forward text messages.
That's a good point. That is the way to like get you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So literally somebody will call and I'll go to our executive assistant, and then next thing comes is like, hey, I just talked to Claire. Can you, I'm like, leave your phone alone. I almost want to just like take my phone and be like, here, just take everything. We're leaving.
Airplane mode.
Yeah. Just get a burner. All right. Good. We got a few more minutes. So what about profit? Obviously you're an entrepreneur. Making money is not the root of all evil. It's the pursuit of a tool for you to do what it is that you need to do in your life, or the purpose in your life. But how do you measure success in your business? How do you measure success personally as a father? Whatever profit metrics you want to look at.
Yeah, profit's a funny thing. People don't want to talk about it, and act like it is like a dirty word or something. Yeah. But if you're not making money, you can't help other people.
Exactly.
And the other thing my dad and I joke about is, anybody can run an unprofitable business. That's not hard. Anybody,
good point. Well, I would say there's some nonprofits out there that do great work, but
sure. But I mean, to run your business and not be profitable, that's why so many businesses don't end up making it, right? Yep. The statistics are staggering of how many don't make it a year, and those that do make it 5 years.
What is Robert Kiyosaki that says 4 out of 5 businesses fail? So hurry up and create your 5th business.
That's right. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, and so for me, it equates to winning. And what is winning? It's very clear on the sports field, right? We keep score, and we know who wins. And when you're winning, that winning feeling is so critical, and it builds on itself. And one of the things I recognized in my time at U of L, and I see it translating into business, when you're winning or you're profitable or you're doing well, everybody's good looking, everybody's funny, everybody's smart.
Yeah.
And then when you're losing, nobody's funny.
Right.
Everyone's dumb and everyone's ugly. And it's just like keeping score and knowing if you're winning or losing it's absolutely essential. And it narrows the focus down to what is important. And and in doing so, the irony of it is, it's not by being this relentless tyrant about how you get things done. It's actually about serving really well,
right?
And in providing a great service to people, you're then rewarded for it. But you got to know the score of the game, and that's part of going back to the infrastructure of the business, to have the numbers and keep the scorecard in front of you on a weekly basis. And then that way you can course correct and make adjustments to make sure you know that you're winning. Yeah. And ultimately that's what it comes down to is knowing that you're winning, and then like finding the recipe for winning, and then continuing to go that way.
Yeah. So I'm going to get back into EOS, and I'm going to get back into Keller. So EOS, you have a scorecard. In our world, we say know your numbers. There's very specific KPIs, key performance indicators, that we want to look at every week. I'm sure you have the similar ones. So I had this thing with some team members that weren't hitting their goals, and we talked about goals, and it almost felt adversarial. Like I feel like I have a goal, and the way I internalized it was, you're going to use that against me to say, aha, you're not doing good enough. And I'm like, no, that's not what it is. It's like, it's about velocity and distance and where are you at in your trajectory? Because, if you look at SalesMet, at any given point, you can go, oh, you're hitting your goal, or you're exceeding your goal, or I want to know the path you're on, the trajectory. So how do you set goals? How do you keep people that aren't in the leadership huddle excited about hitting those goals and those metrics along the way?
Yeah, and you said in equating it to EOS, the tool for that is called the 555. And so the 555 tool, it's really about performance metrics, and how do you keep people not just to the number, but just to doing their role well. And so that method is, once a quarter, you go in a very informal setting with your direct report, and you see how they're doing according to their 5 roles and responsibilities that are clear.
Right.
How are they doing according to their rocks, which is their quarterly objectives.
Right.
Typically there's several of those departmentally or individually. And then how are they doing on the scorecard? And then how are they doing according to your core values? Which a lot of times there's 5 of those.
Yep.
And so how are they doing according to those, in addition to the numbers, and doing it every quarter, so that in an informal way, and they're self-evaluating too. Those conversations give leaders a tool in their toolbox to execute that, because how are you supposed to come up with something like that?
Yeah.
And so we found that to be super helpful in helping people to stay in their lane, do their job well, know if they're winning.
Yep. Well, and I think a lot of you talking about running an unsuccessful business, like a lot of people don't know where they're at.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
hey, are you successful or you're not? Well, I'm making a lot of money. Yeah, but are you profitable?
Right.
Like,
Top line revenue's growing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but
what does that P&L look like?
Yeah.
Or the income, the balance sheet and the income statement. All right. What about in your life? How do you measure success outside of the business world?
Yeah, I think John Maxwell has a quote in this that I like to remember all the time, and that is that the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the quality of your relationships. And I like that direct proportion too, because when we all know this to be true, that when our relationships are strong, especially our primary relationship, our primary relationships with our spouse and our kids, when all of that is humming and it's strong, life is good. When those are not, when things are, yeah, look out. Yeah. And direct proportion to. So winning for me is the relationships being strong, and having that harmony within. Right. Personally, and then beyond that too, obviously friends, obviously if we coach, how those relationships are with the players. So I measure it based on how my relationships are doing.
Okay. You hit it. We got a couple more minutes left. Talk to me about your passion for coaching. How do you get excited about, obviously it's your son, but how do you get excited about coaching kids that are 12 years old?
Well, now I've dropped down to my 7-year-old.
7-year-old, yeah.
And yeah, I was talking to a good friend of mine, Terry Zink, last night about coaching. He's coaching his daughter's volleyball team, and we had very similar testimonials. We just got back into it this week with each having our first trainings of the year, and we're both just energized and pumped up. And what is it about it? It's when we go out, it's first of all, it's putting our whole selves into it, our whole heart and soul into that hour and 15 minutes. It's all about that. And I think giving of yourself and serving other people is energizing. And so that's a big part of it. And also just totally it clears the mind. You get out of the work, it gets you out of the office, right? Gets you out on the field. And before you know it, you're just, I mean, for me, I'm very loud and instructive and encouraging and challenging at the same time. But like you all of a sudden you're sweating and you're moving and you're just impacting, and you see the group coming together, and then the parents and the community of the team, and just the reward of their growth. Going back to that, it's just the reward of them getting closer to their goals and dreams. It's hugely impactful.
Yeah. And, as a coach, you never know when that thing's going to show up. I will tell you that the first year that you coached my son, Davis, that first group of kids, and I was like, and I have no experience with like club soccer. I was like, all right, does this guy know what he's doing? Who picked these kids? This is crazy. And then by the end of it, I mean, it was beautiful. Like we won our last tournament. Like,
that's cool.
I mean, do you see that all the time in club sports? Like, I see it in sports, right? You put it's the progression of a group forming, norming, storming, performing, that kind of stuff. But I mean, to see it over 8 months, it was beautiful. Does that happen all the time?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you're doing it right, whether you win or lose, and that one was beautiful because we had the championship at the end, so there's the crescendo. But regardless of the outcome, if everyone is better than where they started, if there was real dramatic growth, and we saw it with Davis, your son is a great example. By the end of it, he was really playing and moving, and I think he was really enjoying it. Positionally, I remember he was outside mid, and was he staying on the outside? You and I talked about it after a game, and then it clicked, and he got it. And the growth of that, So I do think that it's and it sort of reinforces the leadership around it. That you just stay on it. Repetition is the mother of learning. You got to say it about 500 times to those kids of what to do, but they end up doing it. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's what John Wooden's 8 keys to success: repetition.
That's right.
Yeah. So, all right. Anything else before we break?
No, I really appreciate you having me. It's a great
big shout out to Tag Swag. I love it. I'm a gear guy. If you have any manufacturing needs, whether it's pencils, I mean, I think y'all even do golf balls. I think I reached out and y'all were like, yeah, we can do a golf ball, tents, big orders, small orders. You all have got it covered. It's a local brand, family owned and operated, and about to, can I say the location?
Sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Right there off the campus of University of Louisville. It's going to be awesome. Are you going to have big signage? Like, are you going to be able to see you from the road?
Yeah. The renderings are on tagswag.com. It's going to be a big glass storefront, big signage. It's going to be, a national level manufacturing facility for what we do. And it's going to put a bright light. Someone called us, had kind of looked at our business, and they're like, you know what, you guys are a sleeping giant. And I love that term because here we're going to come into our 40th year.
Okay.
And people hadn't really known we existed, even though we've been doing all the swag for everybody in town
right.
for all this time. Now it's going to come to light. So we're excited about that.
Good. I'm excited about that for you, and look forward to seeing that building.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. Take care.